Hi, I'm Tim. I am the Tinkering Turtle, and today I want to talk about a new product I'm offering through my Etsy store. It is a replacement plaque for the Himiway Cruiser and the Himiway step-thru rear racks. It comes in three colors: white, black with a white edge, and beige with a green edge. There are two sizes available that I'm going to offer, and the difference being the bigger one is the standard size, which closely matches the plaque that came off my original cruiser, and the small is actually cut down about 1/8 of an inch per side to give you an opportunity to slide the strap between the edge of the rear rack and the plaque if you want. That gives you about 3/16 of an inch. So let's talk about this for a second. What you're going to get when you purchase the replacement rear rack is a plastic plaque. This one's made out of Colorcore. It is an outdoor sign material, so it stands up to UV extremely well. You'll also get 4 stainless steel fasteners that come with the rack. The reason I had to add the fasteners, and you can't just use the ones you had, is I made a prototype rack and I sent it to a guy over in New York. He put it on his Himiway cruiser, and the first thing he found is that the holes in my new rack or plaque were too small for his bolts. So Himiway at some point used different bolts on different racks. So to eliminate the issues going forward, I just bought the hardware for you that fits the plaque, and the hole pattern fits the same on each rack. So that will be included with all orders, is a package of the 4 screws you're going to need to put the plaque onto the rack. Like I said before, it comes in 3 different color options: a solid white, a black veneer with a white edge. If you wanted a full black plaque, what you could do is just take a permanent marker and black out the edge. That would work, but that's on you. I'm not going to do that for you. And it also comes in a beige with a green edge. You can't really see the edge because it's down inside the tube for the rack, so I don't think it's that big of an issue. I just wanted to give you multiple color options. Also, I do offer 2 sizes, the small and the standard. The standard closely mimics the plaque that came on the original cruiser. The profile is exactly the same, where the small I cut 1/8 of an inch all the way around off so you could slide straps down between the tube and the plaque if you wanted. The difference between the standard size and the small size is 1/8 inch cut off the edge of the plaque all the way around. This allows you to slip a strap down between the rear rack frame and the plaque if you want. Otherwise, with the full size rack, there's really not a lot of room there. There's less than 1/16 of an inch. But if you use the small rack, then you get about 3/16 of an inch, depending on the tolerance that they built the racks to. This is even better demonstrated when you hold something white. You can see the gap on either side when you're using the small version. But if you have the full-size version, there's almost no gap at all. So with the small version, you get about 3/16 of an inch gap, so you can run your straps through if you want. Now the tools you're going to need to do the installation and removal is you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, if that matches what the hardware that came on your rack. You're also going to need an 8mm open-ended wrench or box-ended wrench. That's to reach up underneath and hold the nuts in place. And also, I'm going to show you a little pro tip with a 4mm Allen wrench. So the pro tip is pretty simple. You're going to want to take the back bolts off of your rear rack here and loosen the front ones. You don't have to take these up much, just enough to loosen it so you can lift the back rack up. And I'm going to repeat the same process on this side. I'm going to remove the bolt for the rack and loosen the front one. Now obviously, taking the old rack off, you're going to want to take your 8mm wrench, put it up underneath on the nut, and unscrew the bolt. To put the new rack on, I just put the bolts in to the plaque and I set them in the holes. And then my next step is to lift up the rack, and this is just to get easier access to the bolts and start the nuts on to the bolts. That's the hard part when it's down here in its assembled position. You can't get up underneath here very easily. So repeat this for all 4 bolts. Just get them hand started onto them. Depending how low your seat is, you may want to raise that up so you can lift this up further if you want as well. I want to point out that the bolt, washer, and Loctite are all stainless steel, so they shouldn't rust over time. Once I get all 4 bolts started, it's still loose, it's not tightened down. I'm going to go ahead and put the rack back on the frame and tighten them down. And I'll repeat the same process on this side. Start the bolt in, then tighten it down. Tighten down the front bolt too. And then for tightening up the 4 bolts, you'll take your 8mm metric wrench, you'll slide up underneath and put it on the nut. Take your Phillips head screwdriver and just tighten it down. It's going to have a little resistance as you go through the nylon. I'll loosen it up a little bit, center it up in the rack. Once it's tight, move on to the next one. And I usually go cross and cross just because it helps me get it positioned properly. Double check that it's lined up. Tighten down the bolt. You want to make sure you get all 4 bolts tightened down so you don't get any rattles while you're riding. The other thing I did is these bolts are a touch longer than the original ones that came in my Himiway, so that I made sure I get all the way through the locking nut. But it's only like a millimeter, so it's not a whole bunch different. I thought the original ones were a little short. So now that they're tightened down, there's no jiggling, there's no movement. Just that easy to install it. Pro tip, like I said, take off the bolts for the backstays, lift it up, that way you can get underneath and put the nuts on easier. Put it back down, lock it in, and just tighten all 4 bolts down. Now these should be slightly underneath the surface, or at least even with the surface. I worked really hard to get that chamfer correct, but they may sit slightly proud. That shouldn't affect anything, so just keep that in the back of your head. The plaques themselves that I make are dimensionally consistent from part to part to part. I can't guarantee that the tubes on the racks are going to be dimensionally consistent because I didn't make the rear rack. So you may see some small variation from the installation on your bike as to what you're seeing on mine. Now the white is not King Colorcore, it's a Starboard, which is the same material as King Colorcore, except it's a solid, and this is typically used on boats. So it's for marine environments where you got a lot of sun and you need it to hold up over time. These are extremely UV resistant. You'll see King Colorcore, those will be used on playgrounds and stuff like that, golf courses, out in the sun, out in the environment. And I think they're rated, I read at one point, for, up to 17 years or something. So this should last a lifetime. So that's the assembly of the rear plaques. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Our link to the parts are going to be in the description of the video. Go ahead and run to my Etsy store and check it out. I'll try to put as many descriptive images on there as I can to answer all your questions. Both materials are outdoor rated and they should last a long time. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.